October 27th, 2018. Our love goes out to the family and friends of the victims at the Tree of Life Synagogue. 11 people lost their lives while in prayer, and our gratitude goes out to those courageous police officers and first responders, some of whom were seriously wounded, who charged into the building in order to bring down the shooter and save the lives of others. Just before the murders in Pittsburgh, 2 African-American senior citizens were shot dead outside of a grocery store in Louisville by a white supremacist who just before the shooting tried and failed to gain access to an African-American church. And as you all know, school shootings, church shootings, and gun violence have become a commonplace occurrence in our country. Last Wednesday, 12 people were murdered at a bar and country music venue in California, including a heroic officer who ran towards the danger and lost his lives while saving others. As proud citizens of the city of Madison Heights, we must declare that enough is enough. Voicing opposition is essential to democracy. A free press is essential to democracy. By exposing mistruths and falsehoods, by opposing the cancer of gun violence or the easy access we have to assault weapons, by ridding ourselves of the fear of people who only seem to be different than us, we can achieve a world at peace where every person gets the respect they deserve. Let's work towards this age-old goal. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks, for nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks. You may be seated. Are there any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? All right, we can go to public hearings. There are none. And so now, meeting is open to the public. If anyone would like to address City Council on any subject, you may do so now. It's helpful, but it's not required if you can give your name, address, and affiliation. And please be so kind to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And if I politely ask you to wrap it up, please take no offense. Good evening.
Michael Sally, 25446 Miracle. I'm with the Active Adult Center Advisory Board, and the board altogether have decided that Melissa Marsh should be our next city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address City Council on any subject? The meeting is open to the public. Please come on up, Ms. Lee. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Deliza Lee, and I reside at 31800. Oh, God. I just moved.
All right.
Harlow Drive here in Madison Heights. I'm also a member of the City Crime Commission. A couple weeks ago, we had a forum for marijuana and domestic violence. And I'm going to be hosting another one with human trafficking, because January is National Stalking and Human Trafficking Month. Many people may not know that our small, quiet community has a huge problem. It's human trafficking. We rank number 2 in the nation, since we're close to I-75 and we border with Canada. As a member of the City Crime Commission, it's my duty to use every avenue necessary to inform our city. Human trafficking is a crime which forces people to perform labor, services, and commercial sex. It affects a population of adults, children, men, women, foreign nations, and United States citizens, and all economical classes. Our children are especially at risk. according to the Stocking Resource Center, over 7.8 million people are stalked each year in the United States. Some of the victim is someone that they know. Stalking does more than people don't understand. It could be a partner, a loved one, boyfriend, husband, that put themselves at risk, and that is the most dangerous type of stalking. We've heard about different stars that they have a person that stalked them because they have this fascination with them, but the most devastating ones is a person that you know. Human trafficking is another form. I'm hosting another forum at the United Methodist Church here in Madison Heights on human trafficking. What I want the community to know and understand that this is not a church event. It's an event that happened to be held at the church. I want all the whole city to come out and understand what's going on in our community, so they can understand and ask questions and get some clarity on what's happening here in the city. Human trafficking is huge. It's so huge, and people think of capturing young girls and take them to different countries, but a lot of things is going on right here in our city that we don't understand. The date that I'm having this venue is January 17, 2019 at 7 p.m. I urge everyone to come out and support, to understand and see exactly what's going on in our community. Once again, I know it's held at my church. This is not a church event. It's just an event to empower and educate our community and our citizens of what's going on surround them. Thank you.
Thank you. Meeting is still open to the public. Would anyone else like to address City Council on any subject is open? All right, no one else has asked to be recognized, so we can continue on in the agenda. There are no communications, but we have two reports tonight. Item D1 is from the acting city manager. It's the correction action plan for underfunded pension and OPEB trust. Ms. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes. In 2017, the Protecting Local Government Retirement and Benefits Act, also known as Public Act 202 of 2017, was signed into law in Michigan. The legislation implemented recommendations to address unfunded pension and retiree health care liabilities of local governments in Michigan. The city has complied with this public act and submitted its funding information and all reporting requirements. It was determined that the city has 3 underfunded systems: the police and fire pension, funded at 54.2%, the police and fire retiree health care trust, funded at 25.6%, and the general employees health care trust at 31%. In accordance with this act, the city has completed 3 corrective action plans for our underfunded systems. Before submitting these to the state, they are required to be reviewed and approved by City Council. The correction action plans are presented for Council for consideration and recommended for approval. If Council wishes to approve these plans, the following motion would be required: to approve the corrective action plans under Public Act 202 for the Police and Fire Pension System, the Police and Fire Healthcare Trust, and the General Employee Healthcare Trust.
Thank you. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Sir, move that the council, and if you give me 1 second, approve the corrective action plans under Public Act 202 for the Police and Fire Pension System, for the Police and Fire Pension System, Police and Fire Retirement Health Care Trust, and the General Employees Retiree Health Care Trust.
Very good. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Gettings?
second.
Thank you. A motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilman Gettings, to approve the corrective action plans under Public Act 202 for the Police and Fire Pension System, Police and Fire Retiree Healthcare Trust, and the General Employee Retiree Healthcare Trust. Is there any discussion from members of council? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries. The next report on the agenda is item D2, also from the acting city manager. It's regarding the Arts and Culture Advisory Board mural project. Ms. Marsh?
In October, City Council was provided with a memo from the Madison Heights Arts and Cultural Advisory Board outlining the board's plans for a mural initiative. The purpose of this report and this agenda item is to advise City Council that the Arts Board and staff have selected the Civic Center Park Shelter, also known as the JC Shelter, for the site of this first city-sponsored mural. Following Council's receipt and filing of this report, the board intends to publish a call to the artist to solicit artwork and pricing for a mural to be painted on the Civic Center Park Shelter. The board will be responsible for raising money for this project and is not asking the city to fund. As previously indicated, submissions by artists would have a deadline of March 15th of 2019. The board intends to publicize its recommended artist in a report to council by April the 22nd of 2019 and authorize the commencement of the mural in the spring of 2019. The Arts Board is excited to launch this new project in the city, and it is their hope to fund additional murals on city-owned property as well as facilitate murals on private property by introducing artists to property owners and initiating conversations. Staff and I recommend the approval of the Civic Center Park Shelter as the site of the first city-sponsored mural.
Thank you, Mrs. Marsh. What's the wish of City Council?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Bliss.
I move that we receive and file this report from the Arts and Culture Board on the mural initiative and allow for the JC building as the site of the first city-sponsored mural.
Thank you. Is there a second for this motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Scott.
second, but I don't understand your motion. Did you move for approval or just review it?
You're just receiving and
Yeah,
filing the report, and then you're approving that location.
Yes.
Okay, then I second
Yes,
that.
not the art itself. That'll be at a future meeting.
All right,
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Was that a second, Mrs. Scott?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss, seconded by Councilwoman Scott, to receive and file the report from the board and to allow the use of the Civic Center Park Shelter as the site of the first city-sponsored mural. Is there discussion on this item?
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Just really quick, I'm excited about this mural initiative. It's a huge step for the city. It's the physical embodiment of the change that the Arts Board is striving for, and I'm excited to see all the submissions that we'll get from artists to transform what our park looks like. That building, as you're driving in, is the first thing that you see when you're going to park to play in the park, and so transforming that with art, making that a part of this entire civic center complex, I think is an incredible thing. There was a lot of hard work that went into scouting locations. The Arts Board has done a tremendous job, so hats off to them. All of the top three options, if you see in the packet, the library wall out there facing the gazebo, as well as Fire Station 2, are coming. Those are things, that top three is a key focus of the Arts Board. We're starting with the JC building because of the flexibility. So if there are submissions for smaller sized murals, there are walls that would allow us to encompass that there that we might not have in some of the other locations. So there's a lot of flexibility there, and we're excited for that to be the first one. And I mean, art is incredibly important to the city. I see a lot of wearable art from the Arts Board here in this room today. Our Active Adult Center Board are all wearing the Madison Heights Arts Board t-shirts, available for $20 if anybody would like them here tonight. That's it, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there other discussion on this item? All right, thank you, City Council. Let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The motion carries. Next on the agenda is under item F1. It's from the DPS Director. It's the award of contract for the fire apparatus preventative maintenance and repair services. Mrs. Marsh, do you have a report?
Yes.
Thanks.
The fire department fleet is suffering from accumulated age and deferred maintenance, resulting in a triage methodology to keep these trucks on the road. Despite their efforts, the DPS Motor Pool Division is unable to get ahead of these repairs and is increasingly using outside vendors to perform much of this work, as it's specialized in nature and requires manufacturer-specific parts. Due to the increasing cost of keeping these trucks on the road, the long list of repairs required to get the fleets back into shape, and to move from a reactive to a proactive maintenance approach, the DPS, fire department staff, and I felt that it was prudent to issue an RFP, or a request for a proposal, for work of this nature. This will ensure that the city is getting the most qualified and cost-effective services from a responsible vendor. DPS and fire department staff prepared a request for proposal for fire apparatus preventative maintenance and repair services. This RFP required a mandatory site visit for a visual inspection of the fleet and put the burden on the prospective vendors to provide a comprehensive maintenance plan, including hourly labor rates, emergency call rates, and so forth. 2 proposals were received by the October 25th deadline. After reviewing the submittal of the bids, the consensus is that while both companies provided comparable pricing, the proposal received by R&R Fire Truck Repair is comprehensive and provides a greater variety of services in-house as opposed to the current methodology of sending trucks to a number of different vendors for different specialized work. It is impossible to estimate the total funding necessary to repair the fleet without a comprehensive analysis of the deficiencies presented by each piece of equipment. This will require the forthcoming upon the approval of this contract. The frontline engines and rescues would take priority of repairs, with the tower to follow once these pieces of equipment have been addressed. Staff and I request that Council approve the contractual relationship with R&R Fire Truck Repair of Northville, Michigan for preventative maintenance and repairs of the fire apparatus fleet at the unit and hourly labor rate prices. If required, a budget amendment will be submitted to Council's approval to allocate the funds for this contractual agreement once R&R Fire Truck Repair has conducted a detailed needs analysis.
Thank you, Mrs. Marsh. What's the wish of City Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
I move for council to approve a contractual relationship with R&R Fire Truck Repair of Northville, Michigan for preventative maintenance and repairs of the fire apparatus fleet at the unit and hourly labor rate prices.
Thank you, Mrs. Scott. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Corbett?
Support, sir.
Thank you. A motion was made by Councilwoman Scott, seconded by Councilman Corbett, to approve a contractual relationship with R&R Fire Truck Repair of Northville, Michigan for preventative maintenance and repairs of the fire apparatus fleet at the unit and hourly labor rate prices. Is there discussion on this matter? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion carries. Okay, the next item is under unfinished business. It's H1. It's called the appointment of city manager. From time to time, if any issue before city council involves us personally, we ask that person to just step down from the stage. And so the next item involves Melissa Marsh. So it's nothing unusual, but I've politely asked Melissa to take a seat wherever she'd like in the room. And if we need assistance, the city attorney, Larry Sherman, has agreed to serve as, I suppose, an acting city manager if we need it for the next 15, 20 minutes. But we've arrived to the point of the agenda, H1, unfinished business, appointment of city manager. I'll open with some remarks, then ask for a city council motion. The people of Madison Heights adopted the council manager form of government. The people of Madison Heights then elected a mayor and city council to fulfill policy ideas for the health, safety, and welfare of the people in our city. City council comes up with some good ideas, but we're just part-time officials, and our most important job is to hire a city manager to effect those policy ideas from city council and the people of Madison Heights. It's the job that we have taken very seriously over the last several months. I first want to acknowledge Amy Sell from Amy Sell LLC, who helped City Council with this very important evaluation of who the next city manager of City Madison Heights will be. It was important to me, and maybe other members of City Council, that we didn't rubber stamp the presumptive heir to this seat. it was important to me that we evaluate the credentials of our acting city manager against the nation's and actually the world's best candidates. The city of Madison Heights received applications from Great Britain and then across the country. As you noticed last week, we narrowed those candidates down to two, Mr. Kalfani Stevens and the acting city manager, Melissa Marsh. And the public can draw their own conclusions and opinions from those interviews. But I believe that City Council is prepared to make a motion to appoint the next city manager. The floor is open for any motions regarding the appointment of the city manager.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Corbett?
Sir, I move to appoint Melissa Marsh as the city manager for Madison Heights provisionally and direct the city attorney to enter into negotiations for a contract with the assistance of special counsel.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second to Mr. Corbett's
Mayor?
motion?
Mayor.
Mr. Gettings?
Second, please.
Thank you. A motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilman Gettings, to appoint Melissa Marsh as the city manager for the city of Madison Heights and to authorize the city attorney to finalize any negotiations. I'd like to open discussion on this item by thanking Melissa Marsh for applying for this job. What made the decision easy for me was the passion you showed at your interview. When you spoke up and told us you will be the best city manager for Madison Heights, I believed it. When you said there's no one else better qualified for the job, I believed it. And you've demonstrated that with over the last several weeks of you being in charge of our city. I was also really moved by your statement that said, if you were even the city manager for one day, that it wouldn't be status quo, that you would try new ideas, and you have, and you've really made a difference. The future is really bright under your leadership, and I'm really excited to work with you. I think what also impressed me is your commitment to community service in Madison Heights. Upon taking the role of acting city manager, you immediately found many ways to get involved outside of City Hall. And you understand what we understand, that the job is not 8 to 5, but it requires nights and weekends. And you do that with an eager sense of service to help the people of Madison Heights. So thank you for that. I encourage you to continue that. And I've heard from many city employees in every department that said as soon as you took over as acting city manager, the air was cleared. There was a boost of morale that I haven't seen in my 11 years on council. But you brought that. Your personality, your leadership, the tone that you present in meetings on the record and off the record, you inspire people to try new things. And that just doesn't happen by mistake. It happens because of you. I also support you because you are certainly qualified in every professional way to be the city manager of Madison Heights. And your testimony that you have, I don't want to say secretly, but you've been building your resume to show us those credentials, especially the ICMA, really showed me that you're really committed to this position. Even when not called upon, you've been studying and taking classes to prepare for this day. And I'm confident to say you are prepared for this day. And no longer shall you, Melissa Marsh, be ignored or underutilized or underappreciated. I will proudly vote for you to be the next city manager, and I encourage my council members to vote yes for you, and I encourage the public to rally behind you and to give you encouragement and constructive criticism throughout the years that you're going to serve our people. So again, thank you for applying for this job. If it was up to me alone, it'd be yours. But I invite any of my council members to offer any comments before we vote.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just a couple of quick comments. I thought Melissa did a fine job in the application process. Familiar with her work. It's always been top quality. I'm very proud to support your appointment to the manager's spot. I want to just make a comment about Mr. Kalfani Stevens, who applied, a fine gentleman, a great resume. And although he will not receive my vote tonight for manager, I respect the integrity and the candidly, the brilliance he brings to his performance and his presentation and so He will land somewhere soon, and they're going to be a very lucky community when he does. But we did pretty good too, sir. That's all.
Thank you. Other comments from members of City Council?
Your Honor.
Yes, please.
So for me, this process as a whole set an incredible new bar for transparency in the city and public involvement. It's a crucial issue. It's the biggest thing, as Mayor Hartwell said, it's the biggest thing that we do as a council. And I believe that because of this process, the city is better off. And it brought out a lot of stuff into the spotlight of what's important to the council and even more so the public. In fact, many residents who are here in this room today, being able to see the comment cards from the interviews, being able to watch our board members asking questions and what's important to them was a great process for the city. And it uncovered a lot of things, like how important a focus on financial management is, how important economic development will be into the future of our city, and how important quality of life programming are to our residents and to myself and my colleagues on council. And so those will be our focus, and those will be a lot of the KPIs that we're collectively going to be fighting for. So that I love the process and I love what that brought out. And I also believe that, Melissa, you're better for that process. Over the course of the entire process, application, the interviews, I saw an immense amount of growth from you. It made me very excited to support you. I asked you some incredibly tough questions. You can play it back if you'd like to watch. Our residents asked you some tough questions too. And you handled them extremely well. It made me very confident in how you're going to be able to handle the tough questions you're going to get day in and day out from the residents. And it also made me believe wholeheartedly that you're going to put yourself in situations to be the public face of the city. And so you're going to get a lot more of those, live and in real time and in the places that our residents are, instead of waiting for our residents to come find you at City Hall. You have an incredible amount of strength. Finance and financial management is clearly one of them, and our city will benefit from those strengths. But outside of that, you have my personal commitment that any help and any resources that you need from me or from council's discussion, we will work on those in order to give you the tools that you need to achieve the goals of community and council. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from members of City Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just her background as a runner, I know she runs on a lot of races. Her volunteerism, which is a good thing. The background in running will help rub off on the rec department, and hopefully they'll be able to continue their run that they have every year in April or May, I believe. But I think she'll do an outstanding job for the community, and I'm glad to see her get the job. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Additional comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Speaking from the heart, as I do, and as Melissa does as well, I wanted you as our city manager since Ben left, and but I felt that the rest of the council would need to feel that way and understand that why she was the best candidate for this job and the only candidate in my mind for the job. I tried not to influence anyone. I let them make their own decisions, and I think that Amy Sell and her company played a marvelous part in helping everybody see how obvious that choice was. Amy, you did a wonderful job for us, and I will highly recommend you personally for any other one who's looking for a steering committee to get a city manager. But I understand that the rest of the council had to prove that to themselves, and I feel that they have done that just by what Melissa has accomplished and by the supreme manager that she has always been. I think that it's very commendable that she, before she ever had any idea of being a city manager, that she took and completed the International City Manager training on her own to complete this, so she would be ready for that job should it come up. I'm glad it did come up, and I applaud Melissa for all of her work. I know she will be a good match for our city, and we'll get her involved. I know, just talking to the seniors out here, we're going to keep her really working. But I know she will earn every dime that she makes, and I'm very proud to say that I'm glad that I support her greatly, and I wish her the best in this position. And glad to remove the title of acting, so now it'll be City Manager Melissa Marsh. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other
Mr. Mayor?
comments? Yes, sir, please.
I forgot one thing, to thank Amy Sell and her firm for their hard work in finding us a good city manager. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
Mr. Mayor,
of
I
course.
have to do what the other Bob said too. I'm sorry, I neglected to thank you, Amy. Thank you, Amy. That's all.
Any other comments from members of council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir, please.
I'd like to chime in too. I've known Melissa for about 5 years, and when that opportunity came up, I knew right away that I'd vote for her. I have the utmost confidence in her. In the last few months, she's done a wonderful job. We started things that we've never done before, and that's what I've been looking. I think the council's been looking for, is that innovation and creative thinking and thinking outside the box, and that's what she represents. So I think she'll do a wonderful job. Like Mayor Pro Tem talked about, finance is your background, and I remember when I did that city manager internship, and we had a meeting about the budget, and she's just rattling off the stuff, and it kind of threw me for a loop, and I was like, wow, she really knows her stuff. But so I think, but you proved yourself over and over again. I don't think that, I think that we can only move forward, and I'm glad that you decided to become the city manager. Thank you.
Other comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I
Yes,
guess I will
please.
chime in here. First of all, I would like to thank Amy Sell for the work that she did, and I would like to thank the residents of the city who supported council and supported Amy Sell with this search. It would have been very easy for us to say, oh, our city manager has retired. You know what, let's just put in the deputy. And, when he's away, she does a good job, let's just do that and move on. But we made the decision that she might be the best person for the job and she might not be. But we owe it to the residents to make sure she is the best person. And as Mayor Hartwell said, we had an application from across the pond, from off the continent. And we had applications from throughout the country. And Amy Sell narrowed it down, and then council further narrowed it down. And last week, with the help of the public, we narrowed it down further. So I think she has done an outstanding job in the last few months, not just as the city manager, but also as the finance director. And when she finds the replacement for the finance director, I can only imagine what she's going to do as our city manager. So let's finish this up and make this official.
Any other comments from members of City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
I'm going to also add that I appreciate so much being able to deal with this process in open sessions and to hear the inputs of the people, because I heard over and over again that Melissa is the one that should be hired. And I don't lightly regard those comments. I take them to heart, and I feel that they have made a right decision, as the council has. That's all.
Thank you, very good. You're right, we're not picking fruit, we're picking the most important executive position in our government. And I want to thank the members of the public and City Council and Amy Sell LLC for getting us to this position, to this moment. And so unless there's any other more comments, I'll ask for a roll call vote. The motion was made by Councilman Corbett, seconded by Councilman Gettings, to appoint Melissa Marsh as the city manager and to authorize the city manager or city attorney to finalize negotiations. If you're in support of Melissa Marsh, you say yes or aye. Opposed would say no. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Scott.
Yes.
Councilman Soltis.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bliss.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilman Gettings.
Yes.
Councilor Grafstein.
Yes.
Mayor Hartwell.
Of course I vote yes. Congratulations, the motion carries.
So excited.
All right. Break's over, get back to work.
All right, please welcome your city manager, Melissa Marsh. Thank you. Next on the agenda are approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion regarding the special minutes of 10/22/18?
Your Honor,
Mr. Bliss?
I move that we adopt the meeting minutes of the special council meeting of October 22nd, 2018 as printed.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Corbett?
support.
Any discussion regarding the motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Bliss and Councilman Corbett to adopt as printed the special minute meetings of 10/22/18? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Can I have a motion regarding the regular minutes of 10/22?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Corbett?
so I move to approve the regular city council meeting minutes from October 22nd.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Your Honor,
Mr. Bliss?
I support.
Is there any discussion regarding the motion to adopt as printed the regular minutes of 10/22/18? All right, let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. We do have some urgent renewal appointments to the Tax Board of Review. These are not mayor's appointments, so if council has their agenda handy, at the end of the agenda, there's two names to the Tax Board of Review. So someone just, a member of council, if you'd like, could you reappoint Donald Bessler and Stephen Howcroft? It's a 2-year term.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Corbett?
so I move that the council reappoint Donald Bessler and Steve Howcroft to terms on the Tax Board of Review. But how many years? It doesn't say. 2 year? 21 to 1/1/21. Both of them.
Thank you, both of them. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Scott?
Second on both of them.
Thank you. Councilman Corbett, supported by Councilwoman Scott, made a motion to reappoint Donald Bessler and Stephen Howcroft to terms on the Tax Board of Review, both expiring January 1, 2021. Is there any discussion? All in favor of appointing these two gentlemen signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. They're both appointed, 7-0. I don't believe there's any other appointments tonight. So before we adjourn, I'd invite any closing comments from members of council and staff. Mr. Corbett?
A couple of items this evening, sir. First of all, again, congratulations, Melissa. You look like a natural there. Reminder, on Fridays, I am at the library. I have office hours from 1 to 3 every Friday up at the library. Next week, which will be the day after Thanksgiving, we won't be there because the library will be closed. So I guess I could meet you on the front lawn, but it'll wait till the week after then. And I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and congratulate the residents on quite a turnout in the election. That was a lot of participation, a lot of energy. And as we move forward, we will be dealing with a few of the issues that are residual from that. The adoption of the resolution, the marijuana proposal that was on the ballot. As I had indicated prior to the election, based upon the citizen vote, I would provide a reaction, which I started today. I did file with the attorney's office a proposal or an outline for a possible ordinance regarding the medical marijuana question. It would provide for testing facilities and 2 retail in the city of Madison Heights. And it will go through the process. It will be vetted by all of council and publicly discussed. And I would expect sometime over the next few months we'll be coming to a resolution on that. This is somewhat distinct from the recreation question, recreational use and sales and all that. If for no other reason, it's going to be another 1.5 years before the state even gets around to licensing on that. So the discussion over the next few weeks, next couple months, will be strictly related, at least in my mind, to the issue of provisioning centers for the medical those with the cards, the way it had been for a while. That's all I have this evening, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bliss?
Yes, Your Honor. The election was, I mean, just an incredible turnout, as Councilman Corbett said. I think that there's an energy in the city that I'm excited to capitalize on. There are unintended consequences for every election. One of those is Proposal 3 is going to tax our clerk's office. And then as Councilman Corbett noted, Proposal 1, depending on what we do with the marijuana legislation, is going to change our city. And so both of those, just know that we are already, staff and council are preparing action plans. We're already working towards figuring out what they're going to mean and making adjustments accordingly. I like to say tonight too, I've been talking about our waste contract with GFL now for, I don't know, probably 3 meetings over the last 6 to 8 weeks. And some of the limited data that we have does show that the complaints that we're receiving are trending down, but it's still not normalized, and I'm worried that some of the data isn't being captured. If you have so many complaints, I talked to a couple residents who stopped calling, they stopped reaching out, and so I'd like to, at this point, formally request a representative of GFL to come to a council meeting and present a correction plan, some sort of proactive plan that would confirm our trust in GFL as our service provider and allow us to understand how they're proactively going to reduce the amount of complaints and challenges that our residents are having. So I'd love to see that at a future council meeting. Nothing urgent. We're about to get into the holidays, but as soon as they can schedule, I would personally like to see a representative here to give a presentation to council. Finally, echoing the sentiment of Councilman Corbett, congrats once again to Melissa. Tonight's a new beginning for Madisonites, a new era. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what this means for the future of the city. And I really am excited to work with you on the strategic planning process. And let's see if we can't bring some really positive change to the city of Madisonites. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gettings?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to thank the city clerk's office and Cheryl for all their hard work. They did a great job on the election. Tree lighting is in 2 weeks from tonight at 6:30 out front here. And congratulations to Melissa. I know she's going to do a great job. I look forward to working with her. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. City Attorney, Mr. Sherman?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. First of all, thank you to Amy Self for walking us through the process. And it was certainly a two-way street. I want to wish Kelfani Stevens, the other finalist, the best of luck in all his future endeavors. And I also want to thank staff, members of boards and commissions, and members of the public who participated in the process. It was something different, but it was a very open, transparent process where lots of people participated and everyone got to be involved, and I think that was outstanding. And then speaking on behalf of staff, since I'm the only one sitting up here, well, Cheryl too, on behalf of staff, I just want to say that Melissa is an incredibly dedicated employee. She leads by example. She is high energy. No one in this city works harder than her. And as Councilor Grafstein mentioned and Melissa mentioned in her interview, someone said to Melissa, can you imagine the kind of job you'll do as city manager when you're not wearing 3 hats of being acting city manager, finance director, and treasurer? And that really says it all. On behalf of Jeffrey, Nick, and I at City Attorney's Office, we look forward to working with you, continue to working with you, and we wish you all the best.
City Manager, Mrs. Marsh, any comments?
Of course. I would like to say thank you first to council for the vote of confidence. I won't let you down. I promise I'll work very hard. I also want to say thank you to staff. Without their hard work, I wouldn't be successful, and they really have been encouraging throughout this whole process. And of course, thank you very much to the residents. I've met a ton of residents throughout this process, and their encouragement, people I didn't even know calling me on the phone just to offer me more encouragement and hoping I would apply, and I think that's vital to the success of the city. So thank you, and thank you for showing up tonight, and thank you to Amy Sell for the process. I think that's it.
Thank you. City Clerk, Ms. Prince.
Thank you. I want to thank the community and the residents for coming out to vote in the state general election last week. As was earlier mentioned, there was a 67% increase in the voter turnout compared to the last comparable election, last midterm election. I want to thank my election inspectors, the student election inspectors, the DPS staff, the city clerk staff for making the day go as smoothly and uneventfully as possible. And also, I just wanted to extend my congratulations to Melissa for her appointment. You are a tremendous mentor, and you are the hardest worker in City Hall. And I'm looking forward to learning from your leadership. Thank you.
Councilor Grafstein.
A couple of things. I want to thank you to all the veterans who have served. Today is Veterans Day observed. Last night, on the eve, it was the 100-year anniversary of, I guess, the first official Veterans Day, and the Women's Club had their annual Veterans Luminary Ceremony, so I want to thank them for doing that every year. We had a few veterans who showed up as well, which was appreciated. It would be really great if we could do something next year just to involve more members of the community, but thank you to everyone who served. Following up on the mural idea that the Arts and Culture Board is looking at, I think it's a great idea, and this afternoon the mayor or I guess this morning today, the mayor and the city manager and I were at a placemaking event, and they were talking about different things, and one of the examples they used for placemaking was a mural in Ferndale. They also had other ideas on what you could do, but I thought this, I knew this was on the agenda, and I thought, I'm sure this is going to pass tonight, but this is a great start to that. So I think anything we can do to support the creativity in the city, we should really get behind that. I don't know if anyone went to the Hazel Park Art Fair over the summer, but I went to that, and I was talking to one of the people in charge of it, and I said, this is a great thing. I would be wonderful. We could bring it here. I think the Arts and Culture Board is looking at doing something like this. And she suggested perhaps we could merge with them somehow. We already share the Chamber of Commerce, but I thought, we've got our festival in the park that we do, and then we end the evening with fireworks. Wouldn't it be great if we could have some kind of an art fair during the day? What they talked about today in the placemaking was it doesn't necessarily have to be in our city if it's in the neighboring city, and what can we do to collaborate with other cities? And I thought this would be a perfect example. If people are coming from some kind of a distance to go to Hazel Park, they'll come next door to Madison Heights. So, it might be something that Arts and Culture wants to get in touch with Hazel Park to see if they are interested, if that is something that we can work on. And then if there are other ideas that people have, something that we could partner with a neighboring city to do, or something that we could do on our own. So council's always looking for ideas. Please feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In our audience tonight are not only some wonderful seniors, very active in our community, but there's a former council member, Kyle Geralds, who I greatly miss on the city council. But I wanted to commend him that he is now teaching government at Lanphier. How appropriate. And what a great teacher you must be, but I appreciate his asking me to contribute to his classroom. Also the fact that you're teaching young students the importance of knowing what's going on in their government, and hopefully you're going to give them an A if they voted. They're 18 yet. Okay. Make sure
I'll
that they're
take care of that.
registered. Make sure that they're registered. I appreciate what you're doing for our government to lead them down the path, because I see a lot of future people running for office. I also like to share your opinions. I know the marijuana issue is coming up now, and we must address it based on the fact that we had 66% of our citizens vote yes. I think most of you know how I feel about that, and I would appreciate any of your opinions about that. The more I hear from, the more I can represent you. So write me, email me, call me, or see me, and please let me know what you feel. I also want to, yes, I wanted to, I probably can ask Joe this question. A citizen called and said that they had already had a problem with their large gallon rubbish bin that they had bought from GFL, and the lid had broken. So now, if that happens anywhere else, what can we tell our citizens to do? Will they report it to the city and get a replacement? Or what have we decided at this point what to do about something like that?
They actually should contact GFL. Those trash cans have a warranty of 10 years.
Good,
So,
that's
yeah,
what
they
I
just
thought.
And they should be bringing a new trash bin or recycling bin, whichever one they ordered, directly to their house.
All right, good, so now we all know that, and I appreciate that. I will let her know that. I wanted to thank everybody in this room, everybody in the United States who voted this time. I hope that the trend of showing up at the polls and realizing responsibility is not going to be a midterm thing. It's going to be every election, even local elections. You have the voice of the people that are sitting up here. It is your choice, and I can't tell you how important those votes are, and I'm so happy to see so many young people come to the fold, because I know the seniors always voted. They were always our top group in voting, but now I'm glad to see that the young people are becoming aware of how much they can change their government if they wish to. I also want to say a happy birthday. It was not only Veterans Day yesterday, but it was Jean Linville's birthday, which we all know. She was born on Veterans Day, and also to recognize a longtime standing citizen who's very involved in our community, Dolly Ferries, will be celebrating her birthday on November 14th. So I want to say happy birthday to her. Melissa, I can't thank you enough for first applying. That was a wonderful day. I celebrated personally when I saw you had applied, and I appreciate the votes of the council and the fact that they have seen what an asset you will be to our city. And I loved calling you city manager, not acting city manager. And last but not least, I hope you all have a Thanksgiving that's rememberable, and I hope you gobble till you wobble. That's all,
Very good,
Mr. Mayor.
very good. Mr. Soltis?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I'll gobble till I wobble. Well, I guess I've been guilty of that a few times. Congratulations, City Manager Marsh. We all know you'll do a fine job. One last thing, I just wanted to point out that for those who are interested, the American Academy of Pediatrics came out in opposition to corporal punishment, and they did that on November 5th. And there's a whole long, if you want to read it, it's an interesting article. They have a policy committee that came up with it, and they talk about certain things, but I just want to read in relation to the no-hit zone in Madison Heights. They talk about parental factors in counseling. So, quote, while many parents spank their children occasionally, a few parental factors increase the use of corporal punishment. For example, parents who suffer from depression tend to use corporal punishment more frequently. In addition, family economic challenges, mental health problems, intimate partner violence, and substance abuse all are associated with increase of reliance on corporal punishment. One small report suggests that parents who themselves have a history of trauma are more likely to use corporal punishment than other parents. So I encourage you to read this article. It's online, and it'd be interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I want to recognize the veterans who have served us civilians. I know there is a veteran in the room. So thank you for your service, and those at home. I also want to thank former Councilman Kyle Geralds for returning to City Hall. It's really nice to see you, Kyle. Thank you to Amy Sell for leading us through the city manager recruitment and interview. And of course, Melissa Marsh, welcome to the job. You have my confidence and support. I support Mayor Pro Tem's Bliss idea to bring a representative from GFL to visit a public city council meeting, and not their PR department, but someone with decision-making abilities who can give us confidence that GFL understands the service demands of our residents. And I wanted to, professionally reach out to the new school board members in the Madison District Public Schools. There were several new members of the Madison schools who the voters selected to serve a term of office on the school board. The city, we sent a letter congratulating those members, but if there's something we could do officially to mix and mingle with them, I know we have a city school liaison committee that may be the appropriate avenue, but if we could figure out how to get that together so we can invite those new school board members to see City Hall and we can compare notes and compare our visions for the city. I'm not prescribing anything, I just, maybe we could brainstorm some ideas on how to reach out to our new friends.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I was going to ask the city clerk to contact both districts, as well as Bishop Foley as the school city liaison. I believe she tried in December, and I think again in the new year, but no one got back to her, so with the election, she could reach out again. See if anyone wants to meet.
Okay. I don't think there's any further business before City Council tonight, so the meeting is adjourned. Good night.